Good evening and welcome to the September 8th, 2025 Economic Development and Planning Committee meeting. The first item on the agenda is public participation. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move into approval of the minutes. If you've had a chance to review those, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve our minutes from August the 11th, 2025 meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay, those minutes are approved. First, we'll go ahead and move into economic development. Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Yurchek. The first thing that's on is on the TIF updates and the timetables as to what this is going to look like as we go forward. Where are we now? We're at the last step. We're looking for an alternative method of us cutting the check for public infrastructure, rather having a way of paying for the public portion of the infrastructure that Advanced Farm Development is going to be going through. How do we do that? One way is through the TIF, the tax increment financing. The development will increase the value of the property, thus increasing the amount of money that's created by property tax. The pie becomes bigger, and with that new money that comes in, we can pay for infrastructure that would not the development needs in order for the development to exist. So we have the infrastructure, and then we have the increased pie to pay for that public infrastructure, which otherwise would not be available. So not all the new money goes into the new infrastructure fund. Some of the new money is protected by statute. That is the development of disabilities and mental health, the child services, the public libraries, the township fire and EMS. Those aren't affected by the TIF for those levies that were passed after 2006. That 100% of the new money would go to those levies. But 75% of the rest of the new money will go to pay for Smoke Rise Drive, which we have determined to be a critical need, as well as the water looping, as well as some other projects that we've been working on a methodology to get paid for that are within that vicinity that would be affected by there. So we think we have a plan that may be able to do that. 25% of the money, 75% would go to the infrastructure for that period of time. 25% will still go to those non-protected entities. So everybody gets a bump in the money from this new money that comes in. The committee of a whole asked me to look at this. It's a 10-year, 75% TIF. That's the direction I was tasked to go, and I did. This is some specialized stuff. So we got a specialized attorney to look at it. That's Squires, Patton, and Bogg, who has been retained to review those. They have prepared the legislation that was necessary for this. It is at our law department for final review. I have not heard back from him as of now. This is the timetable for what it looks like. First is hopefully today we can refer this from ED&P to council to begin the readings and, more importantly, a public hearing. So that September 16th would be the first reading and set the matter for public hearing. It has to be within 30 days after notice to the landowners, which is essentially just the developer. That 30 days, which would mean that the third reading would be when the public hearing would be, but after that third reading, based on statute, you have to wait an additional 30 days prior to passage. So that would be a fourth reading, a fifth reading, and then December 2nd, 2025 would be the sixth reading, and hopefully have a vote on it. So we're going to have plenty of time to look at it, plenty of time to talk about it, go through any questions you may have about it. I'm certainly available to talk right now if you'd like to talk anything about this TIF legislation or its timetable.
And the time frame is what it is, but will that into December hold up any substantial plans on the Vance property? They're proceeding.
I've been working with them through the entire process, so they're changing their plans accordingly.
Okay.
They know these limitations as well.
Okay.
Will the legislation include the Reimer 94? I know we talked about this, that
Yes.
intersection. You're going to try and get that included in the...
I did, and it is included in that. We're working on a traffic study to make sure we can confirm that they are related, but they're within a half mile, so I can't imagine it wouldn't be.
Okay.
So that's included.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
No? I'm good.
Okay. Would someone like to?
No, I can make a motion to place and I'll count the TIF ordinance on the next council agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, go ahead and get that onto council's agenda. Next, we have the Community Improvement Grant.
Yeah, we had a little bit of time today. Usually we have about an hour, but we didn't have a lot of other stuff. So I wanted to talk a little bit about our grants program perspective so that we can see what's working, what's not working, and just so that we understand it. There was a little bit of confusion, and I wanted to make sure we cleared up any confusion there may be. Now, grants are a tool that a municipality is going to use to promote economic growth. You can do it in a couple of ways for a couple of different purposes. Certainly, supporting small businesses keeps our payrolls up and lets them modernize, lets them stay competitive. It keeps property values up. It prevents blight. Certainly, we don't want a lot of empty storefronts in our city. We can target areas that may need help. We can target a downtown, or we can target a match district. Some of these downtowns are unique. You know, a lot of different places have a Target and a Walmart. Not a lot of places have a historic downtown like we do, and certainly we want to make sure we protect that asset that we have. Sometimes we want to target uses. Some uses may have a beneficial effect on the overall planning, whereas you know, if nothing is going on downtown at night, then we're really wasting a lot of open parking spaces, open availability. So, you know, sometimes we have target using. In this case, it would have been restaurants. And sometimes you just want to prime the pump. You put a little bit of money in and it starts the public or the private money that also follows it. So usually by a factor of 2 or 3 times. So large corporations often have access to resources and tax breaks and capital that some small businesses don't have. So sometimes we need to balance the level the playing field, so to speak, for those local businesses. So that's just in general what these grants are designed or hopeful in achieving. So just through the history for the past 10 years or since I've been aware of what we have done in terms of grants. In 2020, we had what was called the Downtown Improvement Grant. That was a targeted grant that started with Heritage Ohio partnering with the City of Wadsworth, where they would put in $20,000 and we would put in $20,000. And it was a 50% match for local downtown businesses for facade improvement. So this is one where we're targeting an area in particular and for building improvements for facade improvements. So we had 10 awards from that. Those were the B.A. Schrock Building, the Napa Building, Blue Tip Barbecue, and Rise and Grind were the type of that. We had a limitation of $10,000 as to how much we were going to match, and that really put a fresh coat of paint on a lot of stuff downtown and spruced it up. The next thing we had COVID year, obviously, then we had what was called the Facade Improvement Grant, or we called the FIG Grant, and that was for the Match District. So we kind of had what we had for downtown, and we thought maybe the Match District needed some attention as well. We certainly didn't want to ignore the south side of Wadsworth, so that created that same facade improvement for down there. That was KC's, where you saw the new fence around there. There was some lighting that was done in the Bucciatelli building. Water Main has their beautiful patio area that was part of that, and a lot of gooseneck lighting that was consistent with all of downtown. So we put in $50,000 was the city. There was private investment of around $100,000. So that was, we paid 75% of those grants, and they paid 25% of the grants. That was a max per project of $15,000. So it was what it was on the Match District. It certainly has a nicer look than it was before. 2023, we changed from targeted areas to targeted use. They created what was called the REAP, the Restaurant Expansion and Attraction Program. And that first round of it was for $50,000. Property owner match was 50%, and that was for improvements associated with new and expanding restaurants. We wanted to make sure, you know, we as a city wanted the restaurants to come in downtown. We thought that that was important for downtown to be alive after 6 o'clock. For a lot of years, it really tampered down and there wasn't a lot going on. So we wanted to push that use, and with the incredibly expensive for putting in these things and with the small margins, we weren't seeing that use being advanced. So we wanted to put some money towards that. There was no location limitation. It could have been anywhere in the city. So the properties that were affected were Sonnets, had a new range put in, or a new hood, I'm sorry. Great Oaks Tavern, Unwind, Cambria, Water Main, all had applications for that. That $50,000 turned into $1.2 million in private investment. The next year, they had a second round of REAP for restaurants, and that was for up to $75,000 with 50% property match. That was the one that brought us the view. They put in around $300,000. We matched it up to the $75,000. It's been a nice anchor for our city, and it's really something that's going on downtown. But that was the 2024 grant. 2025 it was allocated last year. We're trying to implement it this year. It's the Community Improvement Grant. I didn't want to, there's a lot of good businesses on the east side, a lot of good business on the west side that we haven't done anything for in terms of opened up that facade improvement grant. So I wanted to have something that was not area-based but open to all the city of Wadsworth. And I don't necessarily want a one use or another pushing it one direction. I want to focus on the ideas that come in. And in order to do that, I think what's important is the reviewing board that reviews those ideas to see if they're good or bad, or actually bringing something to Wadsworth, not just a handout to a business owner, but rather bringing some advantage to Wadsworth, preventing blight, doing some advantage, monetary or otherwise. So that one is in front of the Community Improvement Corporation as being the reviewing agent. So it is a city grant that's being reviewed by the CIC, and the CIC has representatives of council, has representatives from the administration, from the auditor's office, and from public entities to find those good ideas. I don't know what they are yet, but I'd like to push out this, and I'm going to be pushing this out soon so that we can hear what those ideas are and try to find some ideas that are going to promote economic development in the city of Wadsworth. So that's the SIG grant. It's coming out. It's a city grant. I wanted to make sure you guys heard about it from me and had any questions. I'm certainly willing to answer about it.
Time frame on the SIG grant? I mean, if, you know. If,
yeah, I'd like to get it out next week.
And then as far as implementation, applications 30, 45 days and then move on for a year from there, or what?
Yeah, I got to give them time to go
Right.
get quotes for how much their improvement's going to be. So it's 30 days probably is from there. And then from that, try to get something done. I'm not sure construction's not going to get done until next
right.
year, but at least we'll have the POs in place.
Okay.
So explain a little bit about this.
Yeah.
So this is who sits on this board? You just named a few people, city, the
Sure.
auditor's office. Is there any community people involved?
Yes. Right now, the Community Improvement Corporation is a member. It's the service director, it's the mayor, it's the president of city council, it is the county auditor, or the city auditor, I should say, I'm sorry. And it is 4 members of the community, Mr. Pato from Huntington Bank, Mr. Davis from the law firm of Witchy and Firestein, Bill Lyron, former service director, and Max Miller, a local businessman. Those are the people that are on the CIC.
And then who makes the decision as to, who has the final decision as to where money goes?
They do.
They do. And who directs where the potential, so is this an area where, because it looks like we're taking city money, putting it into another fund, and then making decisions of city money where it goes. Now, I realize there's a lot of city officials on that board, which is great. But who designs the grant and where the money can go and can't go?
I've designed the grant, and I tried to make it as broad as I could so I don't prevent good ideas from being turned down for no reason. The board itself, or the CIC board, is the one who decides where to authorize money to.
Okay. The only reason I question, I guess there was one grant of $75,000 you were talking about that just went to one business. Why didn't that one, and the one before that went to about 10 businesses. Why did one go to one and the other one went to 10?
Well, that's why I think it's so important that it not just be me or one person deciding where that money goes. These are public funds, you're right.
Right.
So it needs to be an accountable board. So that's why the CIC has never been used like I'm using it as the one who
Oh, so this was before the CIC?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This was done by a different board or an individual. So that was not ideal.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. It sounds like you've fixed the internal controls on that.
Tried to.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we'll go ahead and move into planning and zoning. Geiser?
Okay, first item, we still have an ordinance before council. Those are those revisions to the public rental storage facilities. I think really it's ready to be acted on. I understand one council member has some questions before the law director. So hopefully we get those answered and move on with the vote on that.
Do we know what that answer is yet? Or you want to wait for the law?
I'm going to wait for the law director to.
Only because I did have rental units, and I do remember that we had to actually allow the fire department, I had to give up the lock and let the fire department go in. Not that I cared, but,
I'm going to let him address that.
yeah.
Just real quick on that, I did follow up with the law director today to reach out to that council member and all of council and give us a response on that. So hopefully we'll see something by next week's council meeting.
And I echoed your response,
Yep.
and so hopefully we'll get that addressed, so we know, how to move.
Yep.
So that's all current. Wanted to give you an update on some future projects, items that are going to come before Planning Commission in the near future. We received an application for new PUD, Shadow Creek Planned Unit Development. It's 81 acres on the north side of Akron Road between Hartman and High. That goes into Planning Commission for their first review tonight. They'll set a public hearing. It will be reviewed under the new PUD regulations. So you, like Vance property, there'll be some legislation coming your way regarding the proposed PUD, uses, etc. What I can tell you is that it's really pretty much a continuation of the Tiburon Trace and drawing a blank here.
Blooming Acres.
Blooming Acres, that type of subdivision. I think we've got 241 dwelling lots proposed on roughly 81 acres. It's about 3.5 units an acre. The Vance Farm General Plan, we've pretty much gone through all of the annexation, the PUD adoption process. The plan itself had been tabled for several months while they worked out a few issues. One was the traffic, any improvements on the intersection of Smoke Rise and Hartman, as well as some other off-site improvements. I think those issues have been worked out, so the plan has been revised. It'll be going to Planning Commission. Again, just to refresh your memory, that's a 280 total dwelling units. I don't remember the acreage, but it came out to about 4.2, 4.5 units per acre. And then finally, a third one that was just received this past deadline. It's now called Reimer Reserve Subdivision. That is the 13 acres on Reimer Road just west of Partridge. Okay. If you recall, we had at one of these meetings a few months ago, some of the neighbors came in and were inquiring about
the mines. Yeah, okay.
So with that submission, we did get a mine study that the applicant had a professional prepare. To try and keep phone calls down, what I'm going to do in the next few days is put that mine study, as well as I think they did a traffic study. Well, I'll put some of those plans and studies up on the planning and zoning webpage, so anyone can take a look at them. So again, that's 25 lots on those 13 acres. So in the near future, we could have 546 new development lots coming into the city, which is quite a bit more than we've had over the last few years. We've pretty much been stagnant, so there is a little bit of an uptick here. In addition, there's a couple of zoning updates that are going before Planning Commission. First is some revisions to the cluster development and PUD regulations. That's really a corrective ordinance. What we're trying to do is make the minimum lot area, dimensions, and setback requirements for cluster homes and the PUDs. We want to make them consistent. One set of regulations for PUDs, one set for cluster. They're basically the same type of thing. It's just a matter of scale. And then the other thing with the TMU district is now in place, so we'll be looking at some revisions to the sign regulations to create some sign allocations for that district for any use that wants to convert over to a business.
Now, on that, I know that took care of, this, like the northeastern part here,
Right.
and you were going to look at other areas. What's the time, are you going to wait until some of the dust settles and the signage and everything gets done here, and then move on, or when are you going to start looking at the other areas?
Yeah, we'll probably sometime in 2026 start looking around, but I want to get this wrapped up and see what happens, and then start scouting out other areas.
And kind of probably be done in quadrants. You did probably do like maybe the northwest, southeast, and in areas like that as well again.
Probably the best way to look at it, instead of, the city as a whole, if we look at it in pieces, we can address one piece at a time.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Kaiser?
Mr. Chairman, if I might add something, I serve on the Bank County Board of Realtors Legislative Committee. We had some good information presented to us today. These are some stats countywide, but we are part of it as the City of Wadsworth. I think it's important to note that in the month of July, there were 35 new homes, permits for new homes, and there are 225 year-to-date countywide. The other thing is construction costs for the permit. When they pull that, they give you an estimate. It was the average construction cost. This doesn't include the land or any improvements there. Was $434,000. So as we're looking at all these developers coming, in the near future, these homes are going to be expensive. So just something I thought I'd share with the committee. Pretty important.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and move into engineering. Mr. Davis?
Okay, I don't have a whole lot to share. I did want to mention, Mr. Kaiser mentioned a couple projects that are kind of in the earlier stages in the Planning Commission side. We do have a couple projects that are, just to emphasize some of the single-family activity. We have Creekside Commons, which is a project on Leatherman that is in plan review now, looking to potentially start construction into this year, beginning of next year. And just to remind the councilors, the committee, some of the funding issues that come up. You've seen the advance in some of the TIF funding that's been going on with that to get the infrastructure things paid for. You may remember some of my earlier days of some of the PowerPoint presentations when we did our resolutions, that there's a couple different funding choices that are going to come up with Creekside. And I actually used that project as an example when I brought those regulations here, but for those who may not have been there or remember, just a couple things. One of them is the impact fees, where each project will pay when they have their building permits. They'll pay $6,400 in those fees that go toward transportation, water, wastewater, and parks. And then those funds are potentially available. And an example for Creekside Community the Creekside Commons that may come up is there is a traffic turn lane that they're going to be building or a new lane in Great Oaks and Leatherman. And so that's a potential opportunity for them to get that funding for that project through these fees. Something that's not been decided yet, but just as an example of ways that those fees kind of work together in the projects to help them get funded. Second part of it with that is a reimbursement district. Reimbursement district, essentially the developer fronts the money, or there is a future project that's allocated, and then as projects develop and use the infrastructure, they pay a fee that eventually pays for future infrastructure. The reimbursement district fee can either pay for stuff that has been constructed or something to be constructed. For Creekside, there's two things. One of them is a water main going up Leatherman to Great Oaks. They need to get water that far. So that is a project they will build, and then we have the opportunity of forming a reimbursement district to then, as people connect to that water main, to then reimburse the cost of that to that developer as a way of paying them back for some of that. That is something that's been done in the past, but this allows for a varied methodology that can is not limited to just a per front foot you have a little more flexibility with this new regulation, so that's one option. The other example from the same project is wastewater. They'll be building a temporary pump station, and we've gone through this before, and I didn't bring a bunch of maps, but their ultimate someday gravity sewer is going to go down Leatherman, crossing 76 as a future main. So one thing that we'll be bringing to the committee at some point is a reimbursement district that the Creekside project is building a temporary pump station larger than necessary for their own site to allow for some of the properties to the northwest to develop and benefit from this temporary pump station. And what we're planning on doing is doing a reimbursement district so that that additional land that will benefit from this temporary pump station will pay toward a fund to ultimately pay for the future sewer line. So it's a reimbursement district. It's called reimbursement district, but it's actually for that future infrastructure, so that once the sewer pump station gets to capacity, it can then essentially be removed and replaced with this gravity main someday. So you'll see that. So just an idea that there's some of those tools that I mentioned before, but those are going to be coming more shortly. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. That's a part of this project to help all that, to help the infrastructure funding, which is often what holds some of these projects back, is being able to pay for some of these major improvements. So that's just an update that's coming shortly, and you'll see more details once we get farther in the process. But it's getting close. And then
On that, is that similar to what we did on 261, where we put the water and sewer out, ask everybody to contribute now or contribute later?
similar.
Similar?
Yeah, similar. It's a new regulation that was when we did earlier this year or late last year that allows for us to draw a boundary, establish a methodology that people can pay back. It's very flexible.
But they don't have to. If they're not in the city, they don't have to. But if they come in later, they do, or they have to pay in even if they're
If
not?
they connect to the system that we do, then they pay.
Okay.
They don't pay unless they connect.
So same as 261.
But we're
I think
very,
the big difference is in 261, there was front footage charge. Right? You tap in and you have 300 feet of frontage, you got to pay 300 times whatever that fee was. This is really based on land area because larger lots have more development potential, I believe.
Okay.
So, well, for example, if it's wastewater, you're not paying per land area, you're not paying per foot, you're paying per meter. So that way
But you don't know how many meters are going to end up in that property, right?
So that's the methodology that says we're going to estimate this 40 acres has a potential for 300, let's say 150 lots, and so let's then so as each new connection happens, it's a use-based, proportional to its use,
Okay.
not just a land-based where you'd happen to have a small property on a big land and you pay really more than warranted. So it allows for a little more proportionality that way.
Okay.
So that's just that one update on that project. Another, just an illustration to see what kind of property is coming. We also have Briarthorn that's starting construction. That's, I believe, is broken ground, is what I'm told. So some projects that we're moving forward. We're seeing good activity here in town. And then I do have something that will span my active projects with other business, just something to bring up, is some of you may have heard that we've had some frustrations on some work done by Frontier and when it comes to some of the neighbors. One of the areas is in Clark Street, one of the areas is in Weatherstone. Some citizens just been kind of frustrated with some of the construction techniques and issues that have gone on. So on a week ago, last Monday, we had issued a stop work order for that project. Maybe 2 Mondays ago, I'm losing track of time. And have been working with Frontier and their sub-consultants to kind of get things a little bit more up to acceptable levels of construction, of notice, of respecting people's property, and some of that stuff. So that, those conversations have been going well. We made a list of expectations that they need to meet. They're getting close to meeting those. We're getting close to kicking off a pre-construction conference on the kind of startup again. So just so you know, that in case you hear from your residents that we took action, we're working on mopping up the details, making sure people get adequate notice, making sure traffic control is being done well, making sure people's properties are respected, making sure we're not trespassing, things like that. And then this should be starting work up in the next couple of weeks. And we'll have a full-time inspection at Frontier's cost. We'll have a consultant inspector coming and spending really full-time there to watch those services. And then as the projects move forward, there's more that's going all through town. And so what we've told them is we don't really have staffing to do as much work as they want done. And so for us to spend the time we need, we've given them two options. You can essentially wait until we have staff available to start your next phase, which would stretch out their time frame quite a bit. Or you can choose to then pay extra for a full-time inspector for us to hire a consultant to come in to do that at their cost. And so likely they're going to be bringing that inspector in to speed their process up to go faster. But it'd be no cost to us, just additional cost to them. So just a quick update in case you've heard any feedback about that work being done. So that's all I have.
Okay. Any questions or other business? Okay, if not, our next meeting is October 13th, 2025 at 5 p.m. and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
We are adjourned.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.